We will study about Python implementation technique which is known as function. Function is not only implemented in Python but also implemented in object-oriented programming languages, procedure language or structured language. The syntax of implementation is different but the work layout is same in all. We will see functions according to Python, how they are defined and what is their work layout. Basically, functions are a set of statements that take inputs, do some computations and produces output. We write those statements in a specific scope. The scope of any function statements related to that will be written in that scope. The advantage is that it enhances the reusability of our code. If we have to write a code number of times and if we have to write that code separately, our program computation plus time complexity will increase. To control this, function is that technique which caters our program computation and time complexity. When we will type computation statements in the body of function, then we can use the same code again, instead of writing the code all over again. We can use the same code number of times with a single call. This is the biggest advantage of functions. There are two types of functions, built-in functions and user-defined or custom-defined functions. We have used built-in functions like print, input, string concatenation function, round of numbers, dictionary functions, set functions. These are built-in functions which we got with the package of Python. We don't have to define them, we can call and use them. User-defined functions we have to define according to our program, computation requirements. Whatever is our computation requirement, we define a function with the help of a method and use them in our program. We will see how to define user-defined functions. Our function block diagram is like this. First, you define a function. What work the function has to compute. All computational statements will come in that. Then you have statements of code. All the statements you have to write of the program will be here. Where we have to get the result of computation at that point, we will call the function. At function call, the controller function will go to the place where function was defined. After all computation, you will get the result on the point where function was called. For what purpose you have to use the result, you have to print out or have to use as an input in any other program. You will get the function result here. There, line by line, our other code will get interpreted. The components of functions are basically three: signature, body and function call, but I have divided in 5 parts, so it would be easy for us to explain. First, in function signature, in which the name is given and parameters are defined. Signature and parameters are part of one component. In signatures, you also pass parameters. Then comes the body of function, where the definition of function is done, what computation this function has to perform. Third is function call, the point of computation on which function call is required. Basically, function call and arguments are passed together. At function call, the values of computation which you want to call are passed in function call, which after computation in definition you get in result. If you see the syntax, this is the method of writing. First, we define function name. It can be any arbitrary name. Then parameters are passed, on which parameters you want to do computation. Then the body of function comes. All computation statements come in this. Then our normal code is executed line by line, at which point we need computation from function body. At that point, we will call the function. We will pass function name, which will be the same as we define in function name. Then we will pass arguments. We will throw and parameters will catch them and will use as input in function body for computation. We call function name and parameters signatures. This is a function body or definition. And this is a function call in which name of function and arguments are present. Parameters are those values which we pass in signature of function definition, whereas arguments are those values which we pass at the time of function call.